Cars were passing by, and he was sitting by the curb watching them. He was lost in his own thoughts. He kept thinking that entire day about his uncle. The doctors didn't give him much hope, and he was wondering what could he do to save his uncle. When this lady appeared from nowhere, he had to make a decision. If he wasn't able to, he would have to live with himself and regret his decision forever. Trey was 17 and had been living all his life in Atlanta, Georgia. He'd grown up in one of the most dangerous areas in the country, but he never lost his fighting spirit. At only 17, Trey had seen things a person usually sees through the course of a decades-long life. But despite his terrible upbringing, his principles never changed. Trey had always had a good heart. No matter what darkness lurked around, he would always try to bring positivity into his life. He was raised by his aunt and uncle, and they loved him deeply. Even if their household was dealing with poverty, the couple did everything they could to provide the best life for Trey. They were the reason why he was so kind. While only 17, it didn't mean Trey was a stranger to terrible situations. His life was in danger many times. He'd lived through various dangerous scenarios, and he's watched his classmates and friends fall to a life of crime just to try to make a living. To Trey, only education mattered. He strongly believed that education would help his family conquer poverty. But things don't always work out as planned. Trey was going through the most difficult month of his life. His home situation was getting worse. His uncle had called sick, and the hospital bill was outrageous. They couldn't afford to pay it. They had health insurance, but it wasn't that easy. Even if that was their only hope, the hospital told them it would need almost a month to process the funds after they get approved by the insurance company. And this wasn't even the worst part. The hospital had bad news for the family. They told Trey that his uncle would need emergency surgery to remove a growing tumor. They had to do it as soon as possible. Their health insurance still didn't come through. The family was desperate. Trey knew his Aunt Lisa couldn't afford to pay for such a surgery, even with the extra work she did here and there. He had to do something, and he had to do it soon. It's well known that there aren't many things a 17-year-old can do for money. Trey had some good ideas, but it would take too long to put them into practice. He had considered trading cryptocurrency, starting a YouTube channel, and even creating a gaming website with an affiliate angle. But they would all take too long to execute. Trey realized that his best job was something he dreaded doing since he was a child. Trey had seen many of his friends selling counterfeit items to make a quick buck. Even if he didn't hate them for doing it, he couldn't get behind the activity no matter how he looked at it. The teenager had also witnessed how some people ended badly because of what they've done. That was his main reason for not trying it himself, along with his strong principles. So what could he do now when his uncle needed his help no matter what? Trey was desperate. He reached out to one of his school friends who sold music online. He wasn't sure how the whole operation worked, but he was willing to try everything. He decided to at least meet with his friend and take it from there. On his way to his friend, Trey passed by the local grocery store to buy a small gift and some snacks. And then something incredible happened, and it would change the course of his life forever. Trey did his shopping without any complications. He had some spare change, and he managed to buy everything he wanted. But as he left the store, he began to have doubts about his move. He stopped on the sidewalk in front of the store and got lost in his thoughts for over an hour. The dangerous operation he was about to get involved in was making him doubt himself. What would his uncle think if he found out, he wondered. As he was contemplating what to do next, he saw something that shook him back to reality. Trey had been standing on the sidewalk when he saw an older woman standing on the other side of the road. She parked her car there and was having trouble crossing the street. A large bag gleamed in the orange evening sun in her hand, and her face was pulled into a worried frown. Trey watched for minutes as the woman struggled to cross the road. And that's when he had an idea. Many people had crossed the road since Trey started looking at the woman. He realized that no one was paying attention to the woman and knew he had to step in now. Trey had never been so sure about doing something in his life. He quickly crossed the road, moving over and wrapping his arm over the woman's shoulder. With his other hand tied around her wrist, he did the unthinkable. Trey helped the woman across the busy road, holding her bag tight so that it didn't slide off her shoulder. But he didn't stop there. He walked her into the store and helped her shop. All the while, Trey asked himself why so many adults ignored the woman when she needed help. He knew he couldn't be like them, but he had no clue that he was on camera. Unknown to Trey, his aunt had been driving home that evening. In need of a few house supplies, she passed over the store to shop. She saw him helping the lady across the road, into the store, and later back to her car. Proud of the teenager she and her husband raised, Lisa snapped a few photos and uploaded them to Facebook. She wasn't ready for the ripple effect that followed. Lisa's post went viral overnight, and by morning, the internet had scoured her family's life to the bone. People worldwide praised Trey for what he'd done and Lisa for raising such a responsible young man. But it got even better. When word got out about Trey's uncle and their health insurance issues, influential individuals whom the story had touched stepped in to help. The insurance was cleared almost immediately, and Trey's uncle successfully underwent surgery. Trey's act of kindness had saved his life.